I'm going to begin with a newspaper headline. A woman named Gretchen Morgenson, for more than 20 years, has written excellent articles in the business section of the New York Times. And she wrote an article saying that she's going to retire. And the title of her article was Reflections of a Truth Seeker. Reflections of someone who seeks the truth. That ties in very precisely with the main subject of our liturgy today, which is the difference between being wise and being foolish. Now, the word foolish for us has a kind of a weak meaning. It sort of says, that's kind of silly, it's inconsequential, trivial. That's not the meaning of it in the Bible. There's a famous line in one of the Psalms that says, "The fool says in his heart, there is no God." The fool says that. So the difference between foolish and being wise is the difference between seeking God and His truth and denying God, preferring rather the ways of this world. We can find many, many examples of that kind of foolishness in the world around us today. The foolishness which is destructive, which is evil. We could begin with the almost daily notes in the paper and on television about sex allegations of people in high places. I want to assure you, I have not read one single article about Harvey Weinstein. I don't want to hear it. It's ugly, it's stupid, summed up in two words, both stupidity and malice. The foolishness, the stupidity of doing the wrong thing, and the evil doing that goes along with it, the willingness to do evil. So that's one thing. There are other things that are simply evil in themselves. There is an evil in themselves. There is a video that exists of the massacre in that little church in Texas some weeks ago. You can see the whole thing. All the blood and all the evil, all the shooting. And that's available, you can see that. And that's an evil thing to do, to propagate a thing like that. We have the example, once again, to look at the business world of CEOs who bring home millions of dollars. Not just one, but many millions of dollars. Some of them make more in 1 year than many people will see in a lifetime. That's the foolishness, it's the destructive power of evil in our world. The opposite of that is the search for truth. It's the desire to follow God and His will and His word. The story that we heard Jesus tell in this morning's gospel is immediately about the end of all things, the end of the liturgical year. St. Paul talks about the end of all things. But that's simply the external dressing for the tradition that Jesus comes from, the tradition of wisdom in the Bible. It's all through the prophets and the Psalms. It comes down to Jesus on the way He preached, the way He taught, to look for the truth, to do what is right and what is good. That's presented to us as a challenge, we who are the followers of Christ. Not that we necessarily will do those evil things ourselves, but that we may be somehow influenced by them. We don't make the kind of judgment we need to. And you can do that. Everybody here is intelligent enough and sensitive enough to know the difference between right and wrong and how to choose to do the right thing. All of morality, all of ethics can be reduced to that simple phrase, how human beings treat one another. That's what it's all about. The evil doing of foolishness, of folly, comes to us in small ways and in large. The greatest foolishness in the world, of course, is war. War, death, killing. People killing one another instead of speaking to one another and trying to work out their differences in a peaceful and just way. It's also in very small things. It may be in, or say, It may be the things that we need for an examination of conscience, as we talk about before we go to confession. But in any case, the challenge is there to see and to judge what is true and what is right, what is the wisdom that comes to us from God. The gospel teaches us that the wisdom of God is concentrated in the one person of Jesus. He is in himself the wisdom of God. We find that especially in the fourth gospel, where St. John presents Jesus precisely as the wisdom of God. We choose that wisdom and we attach ourselves to that wisdom. And that wisdom comes to us. In a few minutes when you come forward for Holy Communion, realize that in receiving Jesus, you receive the wisdom of God. That's given to us. We take it into ourselves. We take it into ourselves. We can choose to use it or not. We are free. The essence of being a human being, as God created us, is to be free. And God knows we can choose one way or the other. It's up to us to choose. We have the power given to us in what we call grace. The power of God himself, the wisdom of God, which dwells in our hearts and which we call upon in every aspect of our daily lives. The beautiful celebration that we have this morning of this Holy Eucharist, our thanksgiving to God for the blessings that come to us in Christ, the blessings of wisdom to choose him and his way. We celebrate that, we glory in that wonderful gift, and we ask that we may recognize it in ourselves and use it and choose it every day of